Hey everyone, Mr. Macintosh here. Not even a week after Apple dropped the macOS Sonoma 14.6 update, we now have the 14.6.1 update. What is this update? Is it important, and do you really need to install it on your Mac? Plus, we're going to talk a little bit about my next video on Open Core Legacy Patcher next. Let's first look at our full list of Apple software update releases for today. Along with 14.6.1, we got Ventura 13.6.9. Monterey did not get an associated update and it still remains at 12.7.6. On the iOS side, we got 17.6.1 for iPadOS and iOS. All the other previous versions for Vision, watchOS, HomePod, tvOS, and older versions of iOS remain the same and did not get updated today. Our demonstration Mac here today is a MacBook Pro 13-inch M1 2020, and I keep it the same Mac so we can see consistency across every single update. I also make sure File Vault is enabled, and I also make sure my test fake account for Apple ID is logged in and active. So this machine's set up exactly how someone's home Mac is set up. So for the update, all we need to do is go to the software update, and we should see macOS Sonoma 14.6.1 up there. Now we checked again for the more info, and for the fourth update in a row, the information on the patch is not there. Now this is starting to become a running joke. I don't know whether I should just let this go and see how long this is going to be broken, or should I submit a ticket on this? Let me know in the comments what you think I should do with this. So let's click on update now. 1.42 gigabytes coming from 14.6 on Apple Silicon Mac. We'll click on update now and agree. We'll get our password for Apple Silicon Macs. We'll click on OK. And we're going to start to download this. We're going to keep track on how long it takes to prepare the update. Apple says in here it takes about 20 minutes to prepare, but as we can tell in our previous notes, it only takes around anywhere between 8 and 12 minutes to actually prepare. So we'll let this go and we'll see how long it takes. Okay, we're back up after the update. The build version for 14.6.1 is 23G93. Apple did not release any beta updates or a release candidate for this because this was a super fast fix that needed to get out as soon as possible. So how long did it take to prepare and install the 14.6.1 update? I keep track our full list here, and the preparing took 5 minutes, and the actual install part when it rebooted to the progress bar 4 minutes, for a total of 9 minutes. Now that aligns us up to a third place, and the fastest ever was actually 6 minutes for macOS 14.2.1, and then we had 8 minutes, which was the next fastest. Now let's look at the update sizes for Apple Silicon from 14.6. This will be the smallest update, 1.42 gigabytes as we saw earlier. If you're coming from like 14.5 or 14.4.1, it will be larger to get all those other fixes in. Now if you're coming from Intel 14.6, it'll be the smallest update, 665 megabytes. Now let's go over the tip of the video. This is going to be a quick one, but it'll be an interesting one if you want to be able to use emoji in other places other than where there's a button where you can click the emoji and click anywhere you want. So let's say I wanted to put a smiley face on the end of this sentence here in notes. All I need to do is hit the control button, command button, and spacebar together, and you can get the full emoji list for macOS. You can click any one you want. All you need to do is click on it, and there's your emoji in any text area on the operating system. If you have a tip that you really like, put it in the comments and we might use it in the next video. Now let's take a look at firmware updates. For Apple Silicon, the firmware was not updated. Again, this is why we keep track of every single version here, so we can see if it's been updated in a macOS software update or not. For example, this is the same version as it was in 14.6. The same thing with the OS Loader version, and the same thing with T2 BridgeOS update for Intel Macs, same version as 14.6. What about Safari? Safari was not updated. It is the same version as 14.6, and this is pretty rare. Usually there's always an update, and actually this might be the very first time in all the Sonoma updates that Safari was not updated in a macOS Sonoma update. If you're looking for the Sonoma full installer, Apple did release a full installer install assistant package and an M1, M2, M3 IPSW restore file for Apple Configurator 2. So we called this a security update, but if we look at the security update page, there is no published CVE entries for any of these operating system updates. So we're going to have to dig a little bit deeper to find out what's changed in this update. So if you go to the what's new and updates for macOS Sonoma page, we do get exactly what this update's for. This update includes important bug fixes and it addresses an issue that prevents enabling and disabling advanced data protection. So first of all, when we see the bug fixes, that tells us this is not the only fix here. But again, I'm gonna sound like a broken record. Apple, just tell us what these bug fixes are. The users would love to know if their issue that they're having is fixed, even if it's super small. Now, let's look at closer about the advanced data protection. This is an iCloud option that was introduced, and you can use it for macOS Ventura and macOS Sonoma. If you enable that in iCloud, you could not turn it off. And if you have a new machine with 14.6, you are not even able to enable the advanced data protection. That was the bug here. What does it look like if you try to enable advanced data protection during 14.6? Let's take a closer look. So this is what the iCloud window looks like when you go in. Advanced data protection uses end-to-end encryption to ensure that iCloud data types listed here can be only decrypted on your trusted device, protecting your information even in the case of a data breach in the cloud. So all of these pieces here, your device backup, iMessages, iCloud Drive, Safari bookmarks, voice memos, are fully encrypted end-to-end. No one, if you click turn it on 14.6, this is the error message that you were going to get. You could not change advanced data protection because of a server error. Try again. And if you try to turn it off, you would get the same error. So I can see why Apple had to rush this out. This is a pretty big issue. So that gives you a good idea of why this update had to be rushed out so fast. Now let's take a look at the Geekbench 6 benchmark scores. On 14.6, we had a 2383 and an 8794, and once we updated to 14.6.1, we got a 2397 and an 8812. So those are pretty close to being on target, and that's exactly what we're looking for. Let's quickly talk about Open Core Legacy Patcher for unsupported Macs. I've got my video already in progress. I've got all my unsupported devices getting ready and installing the latest version of 14.6.1, so that'll be in the next video. But I wanted to highlight something that Dina K found, the co-developer of Open Core Legacy Patcher, within 20 minutes or a half hour before all of the public updates came out. Apple dropped the kernel debug kit, which is great, but it's funny that that gave us kind of a quick heads up that this was coming out today, or sometimes Apple's been 6 hours late on dropping the kernel debug kit. So I thought that was a really interesting thing to happen today, and keep an eye out for my next video documenting all the unsupported Macs with Open Core Legacy Patcher. So now it comes to my recommendation. Should you install the 14.6.1 update? I went over this entire video because I wanted to show you all of the pieces of this update. Sometimes there's Safari updates, sometimes there's security updates, but in this particular update, all there really is the advanced data protection fix. If you use that, then install this update. So if something goes down and you need to turn it off, or if you're planning on enabling it and you're on 14.6, install this update because you're going to need it. But if you don't use advanced data protection at all and you don't ever plan on using it, then you do not need this update. I know Apple mentioned that there's some bug fixes that are also in here, so that might be good, but we don't know what those are, so that's my recommendation. Stay tuned for my Open Core Legacy Patcher for unsupported Macs 14.6.1 video coming up really soon, and if you have any questions or comments, put them below and we'll catch you in the next video. Thanks.